Support for Connecticut East This Week comes from SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, is offering a $3,500 sign-on bonus for licensed clinicians. Go to licensedclinicians.org to learn more. That's licensedclinicians.org. And Media Here and Now, a full-service content creation agency producing video, audio, podcasts, and digital content for social media, online and broadcast use for all types of businesses, organizations, and non-profits. Find out more at mediahereandnow.com. They serve their country and they're still serving now. We talk with two veteran farmers about their farms and about the state's Homegrown by Heroes, part of the state's CT Veteran Grown campaign. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. We consume food on a daily basis, from meat and vegetables and fruits to honey and maple syrup and everything else in between. But do we always stop to think about how it was grown and produced and where it comes from? Over the past several years, there have been campaigns like Farm to Table, bringing consumers food from more local sources within a shorter distance of where they live, using products that are seasonally grown rather than importing them long distances. Here in Connecticut, our farming industry is bigger than many might realize, with over 5,000 farms employing more than 30,000 people. Some of those are veterans who, upon leaving the military, have taken up a new career as farmers in our state and have become part of the CT Veterans Grown initiative. I sat down with Matt Wilkinson of Wilkinson Farm, Mike Swanson of Broadbrook Acres, as well as Brian Hurlbert, the Commissioner for the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, and Sarah Layton and Amanda Johnson, both of the Connecticut Resource Conservation and Development Area, to talk all about things agriculture. Amanda, explain to us the Connecticut Veteran Grown Initiative.
So I work for Connecticut Resource Conservation and Development. We're a statewide nonprofit organization, and in partnership with working with the Connecticut Department of Agriculture and the Connecticut chapter of the Farmer Veteran Coalition, we were able to secure some funding through U.S. Small Business Administration to have this two-part initiative. So it's reaching consumers, letting them know that we have veteran grown available in our state. And then it's also a resource hub for our farmers who are veterans and providing them with resources, assistance, direct technical assistance to support their business.
Sarah, let me ask you as well. I understand there's going to be quite a bit of publicity happening around the Connecticut Veterans Grown Initiative. Tell us about that and why you decided to push this so hard.
Yeah, so we have been working with Emily DeLuca of Cross Court Media to develop commercials. We are airing 4 commercials from this fall through next fall winter. And that will be to directly promote CT veteran grown products by our veteran grown farmers in the state to the consumers in our state, to bring awareness, let them know what products are out there grown by our veterans and where they can purchase them. And then we are also really excited to be launching our CT veteran grown mini documentary this upcoming Veterans Day. We launched the CT veteran grown website at ctveterangrown.org last Veterans Day. So these are 2 pretty big milestones for us in the program that just happened to coincide and be celebrated on Veterans Day. So this mini documentary will be about 20 minutes long. It celebrates the work of 10 veteran farmers in our state, as well as some of our partner organizations. And we are super excited to launch that.
And of course, we have with us today, as part of our conversation, 2 of the stars, as it were, of the documentary. We have, of course, Matt Wilkinson of Wilkinson Farm and Mike Swanson of Broadbrook Acres. Matt, I'm going to turn to you first. One, congratulations, obviously, and also to Mike and all of the Connecticut veteran farmers. But what does this mean to you to get the word out about Connecticut veteran farms and Connecticut veteran grown?
It's been instrumental for us with our business. It's a huge marketing boon for us, not just on the marketing side, but also on the personal side, being able to link up through all the work that Amanda and Sarah and crew have done, and with support from Commissioner, meeting other veteran farmers, building a community, a network network, help. I become friends with Mike and many of the others. We're actually getting our Thanksgiving turkey from Mike as an example. And it's also, it's getting the word out, who we are, what we're doing. We're still serving our communities and providing food to them and doing what we love.
Talk to us a little bit about Wilkinson Farm, because I believe it's a seventh generation of Wilkinson farmers. But for those who may not have heard of Wilkinson Farm, what is it that you actually do?
Primarily, we're maple syrup production. It's a good old New England quintessential crop there. But we also do produce and cut flowers and starting our foray into fiber sheep also a little bit. So a little small family diverse farm.
And when you talk to people about farming, what are some of the things that you want to get across to them? Because I think, and I don't think I'm wrong in saying this, I think still too many people in the state, despite all of the good things that, and we'll be talking to Brian Hurlbert in a moment from the Department of Ag, despite all of the good things that, is happening out there, I don't think people realize how much farming is such a big deal in this state.
It's not. And we actually, at our market booths, and we get a lot of people that are surprised that maple syrup is even made in Connecticut. So, it's getting the word out. There's hundreds of farms in Connecticut. There's many, many veteran grown farms, and we offer a huge variety of products and produce and meats and just, basically we're the local source. You don't have to truck your food in from California or, Montana. It's all right here in Connecticut, locally grown. You get to know the farmer. You can trust them. We don't have listeria outbreaks. We don't have E. coli outbreaks. You know who you're getting your food from. You can become friends with them. In many cases, you can visit the farms through agritourism and see what's going on. So it's a huge part of Connecticut that a lot of people don't realize is there.
Mike, Broadbrook Acres in Preston, tell us a little bit about your farm as well and, and how things are going for you.
So our farm, we carry pork, chicken, and beef products. Connecticut Veteran Grown and the Farmer Veterans Coalition has brought a lot to us as well, as far as, help with advertisement where normally we wouldn't be in there. Stuff we may not be able to either A, afford to do, or B, know what to do on a lot of that end. I mean, I know how to grow animals, but the social media aspect of things and getting things out on a website are, not my forte, where RC&D has stepped in and really helped us broaden that aspect of our business.
And Matt was saying, obviously, about, he's going to get his turkey off of you. I mean, has this sort of initiative helped to bring the veteran farmers a little bit closer together? Or, did you know each other before that? Just talk to us about how important the actual initiative itself is for all of you.
Oh, very important as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I carry Matt's syrup in my farm stand. I also carry another veteran's honey in my farm stand. We get our produce. If we're running short on our garden, we get our produce from another veteran farmer. It's been great to be able to get to know people that you wouldn't normally know that are out there without this initiative being in place. I mean, obviously, a lot of us turned to farming after we got out of the service we were in, and to know that they're out there and to know that we all have like minds as far as things go, it makes things a lot easier.
How did you find the state when it came to stepping into doing this type of business? Was it easy and the resources? Give us a sense of that, because it's a fair question to ask when you're transitioning from something very, very different in the military to something that is just as important, obviously starting your own business and feeding people.
I feel like the state's doing a little better now as far as veteran wise. I feel like when we put in for grants and such, it moves us ahead of the game and we get extra points for being a veteran, where I don't think that was present before, or I didn't notice it until, the Farmer Veterans Coalition came into place and kind of help guide us a little better. And Amanda with RC&D, she's been a huge help guiding all of us towards grants and letting us know what's out there. And, I feel like the commissioner is great and the state is great as far as coming to our events and supporting our stuff. And, when we went to get the logo together, had a huge help in getting that put out there as well.
Let's turn to Brian Herbert, Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture. Commissioner, it's always great to talk to you. You and I have spoken on several occasions, and I know how passionate you are, obviously, about farming here in Connecticut. Just explain again to listeners who may not be aware how big an industry it is here in Connecticut.
Thank you, Brian, for dedicating some of the time on your podcast to this important topic and bringing in such a great panel for discussion. A lot of people think about, especially this time of year, the local apple orchard that they go to, or the local pumpkin patch. They might be thinking about a corn maze for the family. And those are all important. But what we do at the department is we ladder all of that up and we look at the aggregate. And in Connecticut, that means 5,000 farms, those different orchards, pumpkin patches, corn mazes, vineyards and wineries, farm stands that operate on over 370,000 acres across the state. And then we have, micro farms in urban communities, and we have, 1,000-acre farms in rural communities. We're also, we like to say at the department, from the ground to the sound. So we're up in the Northwest Hills, but we're also in Long Island Sound cultivating oysters for sale. All of that activity generates $4 billion to the state's economy. And we recently released with the University of Connecticut and Farm Credit East a new updated agricultural economic impact report. And that demonstrated that we have 31,000 people working in agriculture across the state. So, those farm stands, those small businesses, those corn mazes, when you put all of that together, we're talking about a $4 billion economic generator to the state's economy. And that deserves people's attention. And when we think about, kind of on the smaller pools that make up that community, the farmer veteran community is one that we see a lot of opportunity for in order to grow Connecticut's agricultural community. And Matt and Mike are here, two really hard workers who are, putting their best effort in on this and doing an amazing job. And we know that they're two examples of this work, but there's probably a couple hundred, if not a few thousand people behind them that have the same work ethic, the same attitude, and the same desire to own their own small business, provide food for their community, put great products out into the Connecticut marketplace, if not the larger marketplace.
I want to pick up on a couple of other things with you, if I may, Commissioner. The 2 points I want to talk about are Connecticut Veteran Farmers Markets. That's something that was relatively new and we saw get launched this year. The other thing is as well, and I can't remember if it was Matt who mentioned it or Mike, agro-tourism as well. Talk to us about both of those things because, of course, they're big as well.
They're huge. And the person who goes to a Connecticut farmers market, they buy plenty of food at a grocery store as well. But they're also making a commitment, right? There's a value statement when they park at that farmers market and they go tent to tent that they're making with their dollar. So we know that it's a different type of person. And by highlighting the Farmer Veteran Coalition and the farmer veteran markets in particular, we're giving an opportunity for them to understand a little bit deeper as to who they're supporting. If you pay attention on the highway, how many veterans license plates do you see? That's a tight-knit community that wants to support each other. And so maybe some of those other veterans aren't going to a farmer's market, but when they see that they can support the men and women who they might have been in the same service of or overlap their service with, it introduces those consumers to a new opportunity. And I think they're really interested in pursuing that. Same with the agritourism piece. If you're going to go do a corn maze, you have choices. That's one of the great things about Connecticut agriculture is that, you can be at a corn maze, 20 miles anyway from wherever you are and have a really amazing experience. But you might want to look for somebody who, was a Marine, if you're a Marine, or, served in the Coast Guard, if that's where you served, a colleague from the Connecticut National Guard and say, that's my buddy, where we do drills together on the weekend. And by creating space for that to happen, we're making sure that those farmer veteran businesses are getting that direct investment, but two, making sure that that individual who shopped there or participated is going to have a great experience. And they're going to tell maybe their non-veteran friend and family to say, hey, you really need to go check out Wilkinson Farm. And I had this amazing maple syrup, my pancakes, my waffles this past weekend. And he's a veteran. This is a great thing to support. It's a great story to tell. We know that farmers are hard workers. There's no shortcuts that either Mike or Matt are taken here. They're putting in the hours to make sure that people are going to get a great experience. And that's a great thing to elevate from the department's perspective.
The other point to make as well is that our farming community are aging. So obviously we're looking for people to move into the farming industry, whether they, of course, are veterans or non-veterans as well. Sarah, I want to get back to you about obviously the whole outreach aspect. You mentioned about the commercials and obviously the documentary, which is all wonderful stuff. What is the message that you're hoping to actually get out there, not just for obviously the veteran farmers, but obviously for the farming community in general?
Well, we're really proud of our veteran farmers in our state who have, as we have titled the documentary Served Then and Are Still Serving Now. They made a commitment to our country and they served us in that capacity. And now they have a unique skill set that they're bringing to the farming industry to serve the consumers across the state. So the message of the documentary is, it talks a little bit about the transition from military life to civilian life and going into farming. It talks about the opportunities that are out there. It talks about the community, both in the veteran farming community and then also the farming community as a whole in the state and the resources that are available. So, we pack a lot into those 20 minutes and we're really excited about that. And then the CT Veteran Grown website actually, as Amanda had mentioned, is twofold. So you can go on to ctveterangrown.org. You can type in your location and say, I'm looking for beef. And that will bring up the actual beef veteran farms in your area, which you can contact and support directly. You can also find out who is selling in markets nearby you. And then on the flip side, as a resource to our Connecticut veteran farmers, we are offering one-on-one assistance so that you can get direct assistance by business professionals, marketing professionals with consultations, website assistance with developing new websites. We have visited about 20 farms to take photos and video content over the course of the past year, and those photos are being directly used. Amanda and I get so excited when we see that someone's sending out a newsletter and one of the photos that we helped to take are in that newsletter, because those are all things when you're starting a business or growing a business that kind of fall to the wayside. They're still important, but without those resources to say, hey, we're going to pay for a professional photographer to come to your farm, that tends to kind of take the back seat. So we really like that we're able to provide that bit of a boost to a farm as they're growing in their business.
And Amanda, tell us as well, obviously, there's plenty of resources. Sarah's just spoken about several of them. But I mean, clearly, there's always a need to keep pushing for more, veterans and more people to become farmers, as we said, here in Connecticut, to make sure that we have that food available to us. Just give us a quick heads up of, what sort of information and resources, other than what Sarah's just mentioned, that CT Grown in your department can obviously provide and how people can access that.
We actually started in 2019 with the help of USDA, a Farm Up program, and that's a direct one-on-one assistance. So it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not, any type of farm can sign up for our services. We actually have farmers on staff, so we meet one-on-one and provide that assistance. We help them make those contacts to USDA for their programs or Connecticut Department of Agriculture. We also make them aware of different agricultural organizations in the state. If you're an organic grower, maybe you want to plug in with NOFA or Farm Bureau, or if you're a new farmer, maybe New Farmer Connecticut Alliance would be a good fit for you. So as an extension of that, we had veterans asking us for specific support. So from that birthed the Veteran Farm Up program in 2020. And then as an extension of that, we moved forward with the Connecticut Veteran Grown Initiative. This is a very special group of farmers. There's a lot of camaraderie. We love to work with all of our Connecticut farmers, but this group is special because they work together to help each other. So, I've sent people to Mike or to Matt. Like, we have new farmers that are, just starting out, just out of military service. They're not really sure what they should be thinking about or doing. So we help them on the programmatic financial side, and they help them more on the ground side. And there's not that competition. There's more of that helping nature. So that's what's really special about working with this group of farms.
And Commissioner, I just wanted to quickly get back to you as well. And I think Matt said this towards the beginning of the interview about, the fact that because everything is here, it's local, it does cut down on those stories, unfortunately, that we continue to hear about foodborne illnesses, etc. The other thing, of course, is Connecticut Grown for Connecticut kids as well. I mean, this is another big thing. We just want to mention that because I think so many children just think, mum and dad pop down to the supermarket and that's where the food comes from, sort of thing. Just talk to us a little bit about the importance and how that initiative has grown and what that's doing, obviously, for young people as well.
Yeah, our Grown for Connecticut Kids program, we actually, at the beginning of October, kicked off Connecticut Grown for Connecticut Kids Week, National Farm to School Month. And, with a number of organizations tried trying to elevate farm to school programming. And under the Lamont administration, we have invested over $3 million into farm to school programming directly. It's the first time the state has made a concerted farm to school effort. There were farm to school programming activities that happened, but there wasn't a farm to school program where we were directly funding those activities. And so recognizing that the more kids that we can show where their food comes from, introduce them to a farmer, engage them with a farm field trip or bring the farmer to the cafeteria and talk about what they do, the more we'll get to the point you made earlier, Brian, is that we have an aging farmer population in the state. So we need to catch the interest of these young students and say, hey, you could do this. Now, you might not want to be in a field, but you might be really interested in AI. You might be really interested in welding or mechanics or as an engineer. All of those skills are applied on a farm. And I think, circling back with our farmer veterans that are on the call here, they learn a lot of those skill sets in the service. And this is a way for them to apply a lot of that work on their farm and use all that knowledge in another way. And so our Connecticut Grown for Connecticut Kids program is a great way to start making those connections. Really excited that we've been able to invest that much money in a relatively short period of time into this field, because it's really important for us as we think about the future of agriculture to introduce these young potential farmers to an opportunity to pique their interest and help them understand where their food comes from and how important it is to know that.
Absolutely. I want to give the final word to Matt and to Mike, our two veteran farmers here. Matt, to any veterans out there who might be listening, who may be considering becoming a farmer, what would you say to them?
Traditionally, veterans aren't really good about asking for help from other people, but with the Connecticut Farmer Veteran Coalition chapter, working with the CT Veteran Grown, with RCND, we have a shared background. We know each other. We have the similar mindsets. It's a group you can trust, and we just want to help each other. And it's a great camaraderie. And I think we take some of that unknown scariness out, and we can help you find the resources we may not know about, but I know another farmer who does know it, and we can hook you up. Reach out if you're interested. It can be a very rewarding lifestyle.
On that same note that Matt said, don't go into the field blind. Use what's out there to help you get along. When I started, I had this organization around to be able to help me get along the way. I mean, we kind of struggled our way through and got off on the right foot, luckily. Having this resource out there and having the Farm Up program that Amanda spoke about, and all of that is just a huge asset to people that are looking to start.
Matt Wilkinson of Wilkinson Farm, Mike Swanson, our Broadbrook Acres farm, to both of you, thank you for what you continue to do along with the other veteran farmers and our farming community in keeping us fed with good quality food. Sarah and Amanda from Connecticut Resource Conservation and Development, thank you for everything that you do as well on behalf of the state, and of course Commissioner Herbert as well for your department. Thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And if you're interested in finding out more about Connecticut's veteran farmers and seeing the new documentary that was mentioned in the interview, then head over to ctveterangrown.org. And if you want to visit Matt's farm, then wilkinsonfarm.com has all the details you need, and Mike's farm can be found at broadbrookacres.com. Connecticut East This Week is made possible by Media Here and Now is a full-service content creation agency based in Eastern Connecticut and producing video, audio, podcasts and digital content for social media, online and broadcast use for all types of businesses, organizations and nonprofits. If you need a new company video or radio advert or want to start your own podcast, then get in contact and see how we can help you at mediahereandnow.com. And
SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, is looking for licensed clinicians and is offering the top benefits packages in the state. Go to licensedclinicians.org to learn more. That's licensedclinicians.org.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week. 9 more Coast Guard sexual assault survivors have filed legal papers against the US Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Academy based in New London recently. Law firm Sanford Heisler Sharp McKnight had previously filed 13 complaints against the agency under the Federal Tort Claims Act, a federal statute that permits individuals to bring legal claims against federal agencies for wrongful acts committed by their employees. Christine Dunn is a managing partner at the law firm and said this now brings the total to 22.
I think it's a moment of reckoning for the Coast Guard. And that has really emboldened survivors to come forward. It is difficult to come forward and talk about all this, especially for survivors for whom this happened long, long ago. But when they see and hear that other people experienced similar things, it makes them feel like they're not alone, and it gives them the courage to come forward.
It's believed the class action is the first of its kind taken by sexual violence survivors against a United States Service Academy.
When we filed in September, we got a good amount of media publicity from the first 13 complaints. And immediately my phone started ringing. And these other 9 came forward just since we filed in September. And I hope that will happen again here, that more survivors will come my way because they feel that there is strength in numbers.
The 22 complaints consist of 19 women, 2 men and 1 non-binary individual. The US Coast Guard has been criticized for withholding a report called Operation Fouled Anchor that revealed over 100 incidents of historic sexual assault at the Coast Guard Academy in New London between the 1980s and early 2000s and was exposed by the news agency CNN in 2023. Connecticut lawmakers announced over $462,000 to support veterans' mental health and suicide prevention efforts in the state recently. Veterans are 6 times more likely to die by suicide than in combat, and Eastern Connecticut has the largest veteran population in the state of around 40,000 men and women from all branches of the military. U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal chairs the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs and said too many veterans are taking their lives.
20 veterans every day take their own lives. That's why we're here, because we have utterly failed to eliminate veteran suicide as a cause of death for our nation's heroes, and that is unacceptable for us. We have a responsibility and imperative to do more and do it right so that we save lives. This $462,000 just a start. Named after a veteran, Sergeant Fox, who took his own life at the age of 29, unacceptable. Veteran suicide is preventable.
U.S. Congressman Joe Courtney said Congress has made efforts in the past few years to reduce the suicide problem with a crisis helpline, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Over 1.6 million calls have come in nationally for individuals experiencing crisis. That just sort of deals with the crisis moment. We need, obviously, to make available to people much more substantive help in terms of whether it's therapy, education, even clinical services, in terms of trying to help people get through mental health issues, which can be successfully mitigated and treated.
The money will be used by East This Veterans Rally Point Center, a non-profit organization that provides services to active and retired military personnel and is based in the city of Norwich. A $50 million private donation from Elizabeth DeLuca, the widow of Subway billionaire Fred DeLuca, will go towards creating a new school of nursing at UConn at their Stores campus. The donation is the largest in UConn's history and is being supported by $30 million of state bonding authorized by Governor Lamont. UConn held a groundbreaking ceremony recently to mark the beginning of the new project. DeLuca is a UConn alum and said she's always wanted to see the nursing school expand from the little cottage building on the campus she graduated from back in 1969.
I've been able to meet people in the faculty and students as well to understand what a potential there is for the School of Nursing to grow into something really, really wonderful. I have a passion for letting nurses be more prepared for when they enter the workforce, and we're working with curriculum ideas and other innovations to make them more ready to be practicing on patients and to face the real world of clinical practice that they're going to be facing.
Governor Lamont, along with local legislators, attended the groundbreaking event. Lamont said he saw during the COVID-19 pandemic how vital nurses were in the state and said everyone remembers a nurse who's treated them, and thanked DeLuca for her support and vision for the new school.
You're giving them the tools to be innovators and think and how they can better care for the patient in a patient-centric way, and I think that's in large part what's going to make this school special for patients and healthcare around the state. We desperately need it. Thank God you stood up and did the right thing. We so appreciate it.
The new school is expected to open in July 2026, and DeLuca's $50 million donation will be divided to help construction of the school, pay for academic equipment, and $20 million will be set aside for student scholarships. And the general election is over, and the country has a new president in Donald Trump. Trump obtained the necessary 270 electoral college votes needed to win against his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, during the November 5th election. Trump will now become only the second president to serve non-consecutive terms after Grover Cleveland back in the late 1800s. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms, on demand, and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow, and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening.